Donald Trump became the first former president ever convicted of a crime, with a Manhattan jury finding him guilty of 34 felonies for falsifying records to cover up hush money paid to a porn star. The historic verdict, stemming from conduct that took place around Trump's run to the presidency in 2016, could threaten his 2024 bid to return to the White House. Trump can still run, and his poll numbers remain steady during the more than month-long trial. By the way, they have risen since. I actually feel bad for those of you married. I really do. I don't intend in any way to worsen things by saying this. My heart breaks really for both of you. Your perception of reality is opposite. That's a very difficult thing. It's bad enough if it's your child, but if it's your spouse, it's, one of you it has no sense of reality. One of you. That you can, it's one of the only things you can both agree on. You both, it's not a matter of opinion. That's a non-issue. You're for capital punishment. He's against, or you're against. She's for, or she's against. You're for. That doesn't affect the marriage. Perception of reality. This is perception of reality. This is not opinion about a position on some matter. A couple could survive difference of opinion on abortion. But perception of reality, that's a biggie. That's a tough one to live with. Some voters have said they might be less likely to vote for him if he were convicted. They said that then. I think the needle has moved in the opposite direction. A jury of 5 women and 7 men found the former president guilty of all the counts he faced. 34 counts. On the second day of deliberations. Guilty, the jury foreman, an Irish immigrant who lives in Harlem, said 34 times. Trump scrutinized the jurors as the judge asked if each agreed with the verdict. His face flushed while he gripped his son Eric Trump's hand before walking out of the courtroom. In the hallway, Trump railed against the proceedings. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. That is correct. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. It's not only important that he be reelected, it is important that it be a landslide. The Democratic Party, which has been taken over by the loathsome left and veering it very, very much toward a Soviet model, has to suffer as a result. Something has to say to them, you've gone too far. The American people have to say to the left, you've gone too far. Yes, you can screw our children. You can mutilate them, and the only country in the world that is doing it. That's it. Europe has given up on the mutilation of children through hormone blockers and surgeries. If the child mumbles, I'm really the other sex. We are alone on earth, the United States of America, because of the loathsome left. Never say left without the word loathsome. Yeah, you could try others. Despicable, Soviet-like. That's what it is. Outside the courthouse, television crews and groups of pro- and anti-Trump demonstrators eagerly awaited the word from the jury. Justice served, a man shouted through a bullhorn after learning of the verdict. Lock him up. New York hates Trump, said a man in a red Trump 2024 hat. He didn't have his chance. That's correct. That's right. The presiding judge, Justice Juan Merchan, now faces the unprecedented task of sentencing Trump, 77 years old. Merchan scheduled Trump's sentencing for July 11th, just days before the start of the Republican National Convention. The New York offenses were low-level felonies that carry no mandatory punishment. And Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg charged the case in a manner for which there is little precedent. Trump also is a first-time offender with no criminal record. Such circumstances could make a prison sentence unlikely. Merchan has other penalties from which to choose, ranging from a fine to probation. Trump is certain to appeal, which could take months or years to resolve. The process could be further complicated if Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee, wins a second presidential term. Trump faces 3 other prosecutions. Though none may go to trial before Election Day, the hush money case was considered by many observers to be the least serious of the 4, so you can only imagine. He could be charged with anything. It doesn't matter. My big macro point that I make frequently is that Alvin Bragg's conscience and Juan Merchan's conscience, they are a complete piece with their attack on justice. Both their names, they'll both be forgotten, but both of their names, to the extent that they will be in history books, will eventually be regarded as either the precursors for the Sovietization of the United States or as people who almost wrecked the United States. But somehow or other, the American people decided against them. The vote in November is as much about Juan Merchan and Alvin Bragg and the Democratic Party as a vile institution as it is a vote with regard to Donald Trump. Amazing that the people continue to speak about how awful a man Donald Trump is in their view. Like that is that the question? Your moral assessment of that individual? Do you have a higher moral assessment of Joe Biden? Did Donald Trump use the White House to enrich himself and his family by millions of dollars? There's nothing comparable. Read the inaugural address of Joe Biden and the inaugural address of Donald Trump. And tell me which is more noble and which is more despicable. The invention of the great threat of white supremacy in America. For the full episode of the Dennis Prager Show, go to pragertopia.com, sign up, and become a full member.